Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League Racing TV YouTube channel for round 3 of the first season of Esports Masters League Formula 1 Drivers' Championship. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmentalist. I'll be taking you through proceedings on a Wednesday night as per usual, and joining me in the commentary box once again for the third time this season is Daka230. Daka, how are you doing this evening?
Thank you very much, Aidan, and yet again a pleasure to be back covering the EML Formula 1 League. As you mentioned, this is the third round of the championship coming to you from Azerbaijan. The Baku City Circuit is what we have ahead of us. One of the most technically challenging tracks on the entire calendar that's going to present a real challenge to all the drivers out there on the road ahead of this one. So certainly that challenge is going to be going out there. We could see a bit of a race of attrition here. We'll see how it goes on. But Baku, as always, is going to throw up surprises, unpredictability, you name it. We're going to have a manic race here tonight.
Yeah, I'm sure we are going to have a manic one. Like you say, Baku does provide a lot of crazy racing. We've seen in real-life Formula 1 a lot of safety car restarts that have caused absolute carnage. We've seen Formula 2 races be utter nuts around this circuit in past races. It has provided quite a lot, you've got to say, of really, really good races, although despite the track itself is probably a bit of a polarizing track in terms of people liking it or disliking it as a circuit itself. So that's one thing to look out for is going to be who can get through this carnage and who can get through this race cleanly. That is one thing to note going into this race. So just getting ready for the qualifying session, then 18 minutes ahead of us in a short qualifying session. Unfortunately, only 13 drivers with us tonight, it seems, but fingers crossed we can still get a good race out of these guys. Just looking at the championship standings coming into this round as well. It's actually been a bit interesting, this championship standing so far, hasn't it? Because we've had two winners, both Mercedes have won both of the first rounds this season, but neither of them are actually leading the championship.
Yeah, and between them as well, they aren't winning the Constructors. That's currently going the way of Williams at the moment, just with a little bit more consistency to their name. It is, currently M Short that leads the driver standings, and just that is, I believe, 2 top 5 finishes. That's all that's needed. 1 podium, a 2nd place, of course, last time out in Bahrain. And so that level of consistency is really shining through in the field. So unpredictable so early on then, and I don't expect Baku to really change much. We'll see how it all evolves. Maybe someone like M Short could take a runaway championship lead. We'll see how it goes here tonight. But that should be a fun one then. We're heading now towards the first session in qualifying. And with the championship still so close, will it be able to swing either way then? But there's certainly, at this stage of the season, it's far too close to call.
Yeah, it is far too close to call. One thing to note as well in this championship so far, looking after the first 2 rounds of the season, no one's actually had a repeat podium as of yet. We've not had someone finish on the podium in both of the first 2 rounds. We've already had 6 podium sitters in 2 races. So that's one thing to note going into this one, and we're going to see our first repeat podium sitter going into this round. It's been a real championship so far of up and downs for a lot of drivers. Drivers have either had an absolutely stellar race, or the very next race they've been off the road and in the wall, and that is pretty much exactly what happened to Venoms, who won the first race in Australia, come to Bahrain in the second race, and he was down at the back of the field for the majority after contact and damage early on in the race. So it really is an up and down. It's all about consistency going into this one. And looking at the drivers we've got here tonight, unfortunately, obviously, like I said, only 13 drivers with us tonight. Amazing Hour is here, last week's race winner. He has a great opportunity here at maybe trying to close in on M Short in the championship, especially with the likes of Venom and Jirazi not here tonight.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we are seeing that gap in the field then, but it does present the opportunity to those drivers that you mentioned to potentially push themselves a bit higher up here tonight. Qualifying, of course, first up ahead of us then. With only 13 drivers, the starting inside the top 10 probably isn't exactly too bad a thing. Not too many drivers behind to really benefit from starting on an alternate strategy. It's quite a high tire deck circuit, and from the soft tire start, a 2-stopper is actually feasible around here because the tire strategies can sometimes be a bit risky here at Azerbaijan. Typically, if you're starting on the softs, you're going to be looking at either, well, you could try a soft-medium strategy, but that's incredibly risky. I'd say a soft-hard is probably a bit more feasible. We'll see how that goes then, but of course, starting out to the top 10 for those 3 drivers that will do so could present a bit of an advantage, but we'll see what happens. But the strategy is going to be so intriguing because there isn't one concrete fastest way around this lap.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said, the one-stop strategies, there's real risk with kind of both of the one-stop strategies we've got here. Like you say, soft to medium, you're at real risk of a puncture at the end of both stints on different sets of tyres. And then go onto the soft hard compound, onto the hard compound tyres around this circuit, especially in the middle part of the lap. The hard compound tyres don't provide a lot of grip, especially with the new street circuit kind of tyre grip that we've got on this game. It makes the hard tyres very, very difficult to drive around circuits like this. So if you were in their situation, Zaka, what would you choose? Would you try and go for something a bit riskier, go for the soft medium, or would you play it safe and go for the hard compound tyres?
Well, there's certainly a risk versus reward thing, especially with the safety cars that can really change the race. But in a straight up race, straightforward race, I'd probably go for the soft hard strategy, but maybe that's my advanced age talking, I don't know. But anyway, we're now coming up to the grid. Amazing Hour, I think, is going to be the first driver to take us round here. I'm going to leave it to you, Aidan Carter, to take us through a lap of this growing, iconic Baku City circuit then. Now, Ace Amazing Hour up to the line. Big opportunity to get into the championship fight. They're over the line. Let's see what the Australian can do to kick off this qualifying session.
Yeah, 20 turns ahead of this driver then. One of the longest tracks on the calendar in terms of time, this one, as he head through turn 1. A lot of 90-degree corners to start off this lap in the first sector, then into turn 2. And already behind him on the road, Vax Viking has gone straight on at turn 1. Has outbraked himself on his first run in qualifying, so that is going to be him towards the back, unless he can set another time in the session. Down towards turn 3, the end of the first of the DRS straights then. Nicely on the brakes for Amazing Hour, not pushing the boundaries too much, not getting too close to the wall. Bit of a lock up down in towards turn 4, but gets the car stopped nicely to the end of the first sector then, and now into the second sector. Gets a lot more tight and technical through here, and you can see that turning in there, just clip the wall on the inside of turn 5, heads through turn 6, and then down this short straight into turn 7, which is somewhat of a double apex hairpin. He cuts over the curb on the inside, which is very, very common. Up to the castle section now, the most difficult part of this circuit. The sun's shining in your eyes over the top of 10. Oh, he clips the wall on the inside, just gets away with it, I think, just about, but still a couple of times already on this lap where Amazing Hour has made slight contact with the walls. He heads towards the end of the second sector now. A couple of off-camber kink corners, and now into probably one of the most difficult braking zones on the calendar, and you can see there again, just hopping over the curb, taking too much curb, bouncing himself into the outside wall at turn 15 through turn 16, the final proper corner on the track. Another 90-degree corner, and now we head through the kinks of turn 17, 18, 19 and 20 to finish off the lap. And Amazing Hour is backing off, as you can tell. A number of hits with the wall, probably a bit of front wing damage after that big hit at the end of turn 15, and that is his lap time over and done with. And that just goes to show how difficult it is around this track to get a clean lap in. It's not necessarily invalidations here that really cost you, it's all about those walls, and Amazing Hour hit the wall 3 times in one lap.
Yeah, there's so many technical turns around this Baku City circuit that could really throw off some of the drivers out there. You're going to see that all the way throughout tonight. Carissa, first driver to set a valid lap time. That's on the medium tires, though. 1:39.9 is not particularly representative, I would say, of what we're going to see throughout the remainder of the qualifying session. Who's going to be next up on a lap? A lot of drivers actually on out laps at the moment. Maybe just trying to get better lap times in later on then. Maybe use the track evolution to their advantage. So it's a little bit quiet out there on the circuit at the moment. I think Coutinho is the furthest along driver on the lap at the moment in the AlphaTauri, but he's also backed up actually through that second sector, so he's had enough. It's pretty quiet out there. Creaser to the top then, and a very timid start to qualifying. 5 minutes into the moment, Creaser on pole, provisional pole for the moment, but we've barely scratched the surface of what these drivers can do tonight.
Yeah, already 6 minutes nearly into this qualifying session, and we've seen a lot of drivers now with damage. Amazing Hour into the pit lane. Coutinho, first race of the season for him, he's in the pit lane for damage. I think he set a purple first sector, as you would expect, with very few drivers setting times, but he's damaged that right-hand side of his front wing, so he's dived into the pit lane. Both McLarens without a front wing completely on their cars, so they've obviously had a disastrous qualifying session so far. Behind them on the road, I think that's Brewich that's gone past, or was that Charlie Harris just starting a lap in the Renault, so we'll see what he can do. Looking a bit further up as to who else is on laps. M Short's just done the first sector at 34.4 in the first sector for our current championship leader. Quite a strong first sector. His XL teammate Neo in the Red Bull is up ahead of him on the track. He's also on a lap as well, so we'll see what Neo can do. It's been a bit maybe of a timid start to the season so far for the Red Bull pairing. They've not by any stretch of the way been slow. They've just not quite been able to break into that top 5 consistently so far this season. Neo then heading down the hill towards the end of the second sector. It's been a clean lap so far, and it's a 15 flat by the end of the second sector. It looks like he'll be the first person to set a valid time on the soft compound tyres. Cruiser is still going, by the way, on his medium tyres. Wasn't able to improve on his second lap in that session, as Neo then coming through the kink of turn 20 and up towards the line. A really long run now up towards the start finish line, which is right at the end of this straight. He tucks the car to the left hand side, and actually Neo deciding to abort that lap. So Neo on a strong lap on the soft compound tyres, dives into the pit lane, isn't going to finish the lap. M Short is going to finish his lap in the Williams. He comes up to the line, and you can see the difference in pace there. A 37.5 from M Short, 2.5 seconds faster than Creaser in the end, onto provisional pole. He's the only person though to set a valid time on the soft compound tyres so far. I think Nightshades has invalidated a run on the soft compound tyres, so he's diving into the pit lane. A lot of drivers really struggling here in qualifying, and very interesting from Neo that he was on a strong lap and decided to abort it.
As Bags Viking going out the session, and that's coming through turn 4, I think that's on the mini-map. And so he's bowed out then. Early on, watching actually M Short coming up to that, he's just gone straight down the escape road. So I'm not sure about that. Maybe he lost it under braking. But the McLaren driver will start from the rear of the field, and that is a guarantee. So no higher than 13 for Bags Viking, going out early then, and so he's got nothing left to give in this session. Bags Viking may have a strategic advantage, and starting 13th might not actually be all that bad, but he is going to start from the rear. He's going to have to try and work his way through. Gives an opportunity to other drivers, but not far off halfway in. Only 2 valid lap times on the board, Aiden.
Yeah, people really struggling to get lap times in at the moment. The only person now currently on a lap is Amazing Hour. He's just started his second run in qualifying, so see if this time if he can keep that Mercedes out of the wall and set a valid lap time in this session. It was a 0.4 in the first sector from M Short, and it's a 0.4 for Amazing Hour, but a little bit slower, nearly a 10th down on M Short in the first part of the lap. To see whether he's set that car up maybe more for the straight line at the end of the lap, or maybe he's gone for something with a little bit more downforce for the middle part of the circuit. He heads then up through the castle section, turns into the corner nicely, gets up towards the wall. It's nice and neat, and he gets over the top of turn 10 without clipping the wall this time. So it's a much neater lap so far for the Mercedes drivers. He heads down the end of this second sector. We've got more people starting laps now. Kugino is crossing the line, and I believe he's got another driver just behind him. I think that's actually M Short just coming into the pit lane, as hopping over the curb at 15 once again is Amazing Hour. Gets away with it in terms of validation wise. It's a 13.5 by the end of the second sector, so it's not looking like a bad lap time from the Mercedes drivers. He heads now through this final sector. What can he do compared to M Short? It's pretty much flat out this entire final sector, so it all depends on the setup that you've chosen as to how fast you are in the final part of this lap. As he heads up towards the line, keeps it in the middle of the track, I think, for the shortest run towards the line, moves over to the left as the straight curves just a little bit, and he found a bit of time towards the end of the lap then. A 37.4 goes a 10th clear of M Short in the end, so while a 10th down in the first sector, found 2/10 of a second across the rest of the lap. So maybe that's showing that Amazing Hour's gone for something that's maybe a little bit faster in a straight line.
Yeah, just opting maybe for that little bit more speed down that massive full throttle section to end off the lap. Then he goes fastest, fractionally ahead of championship rival M Short 17. We've got, I think that's John that's going off then at turn 1. And I think that was at the start of a flying lap then. So that's the second time I think we've seen a car in that escape road down there at the first corner, bowing out of a flying lap. Continues going out there, not bad as well throughout that middle sector then. 113.7 and continuing to press on the AlphaTauri. We'll see what he can do. He might be able to challenge actually those top 2 times. The seeing drivers stacking up into the 30s, the mid 37s as it stands right now. But now the AlphaTauri making his debut here in EML Formula 1 opens DRS now to the lane to close out the lap then. And what's the time? It's the 37.6 right in the mix. Couldn't quite challenge the top 2, but it's very tight then. Out of all the cars that have set competitive lap times on softs, how few of them they've been, but just under 2/10 separating those guys. Amazing error though, still holding on to that pole position. Yeah, holding on to it by a 10th of a second for the time being. 2/10 of a second then covering the top 3 in qualifying so far, and only 4 people have still set times. We've got only 7 minutes left in this session, and we're still waiting on times from a number of drivers who just haven't been able to set clean times so far. We've got TFB Brewich on a
a lap, I believe, so we'll see what he can do in the rain. I believe this is his first time this season in a car, so we'll see what he can do as he heads through the middle part of the lap, then look for a mid-13 at the end of the second sector to be towards the front of the field. But at the moment, he could set a time that's 2 seconds off the pace and still be fourth on the grid as it stands at very deep on the brakes into 15. Just about keeps it out of the wall, but that corner really catching a lot of drivers out, and it's a 15.8 in the middle part of the lap, so this is not a competitive time compared to our top three so far. It's not been fast enough as he heads now down this long pit straight up towards the line. He might get a little bit of a toe off of one of the McLarens. That is going to be John that's just in front of him on the track. I think he's going to dive into the pit lane possibly, or he might be going for another run on the same set of tyres, having gone off at turn 1 on his first lap. John then a 2:05 and Brewitt with a 40 flat in that time then. Not quite competitive enough to be right at the front and behind Creaser. Creaser at the moment still 4th place on a set of medium tyres. He's got soft tyres on in the pit lane, but he doesn't at the moment have to go out again at the moment. So medium tyres starting 4th place could actually turn out to be that could be a stunning time and a stunning qualifying for Creaser if he can pull that off.
Well, it really depends. We'll see if the drivers are able to find a little bit more out there on the track for the end of the session. M Short 17's on a flying lap at the moment, but he was considerably down, about a tenth and a half down. And that first sector is going to have to find a bit more time. Maximum commitment to the end of the lap is needed. Through turn 7 up towards the outside wall. Bit of movement here, then into the uphill castle section. And again, this is all commitment. Get as close to the walls as he possibly can. And continue to stretch over the invalidates on the inside of turn 12. And he is going to have to give up on that flying lap. Will not be able to get a valid one in. I'm not sure if anyone else is on a flying lap on softs behind. I think Charlie Harris. And that red Obi gets right out wide at turn 9, nearly into the outside wall of the castle section. Just about keeps it together. Now he's on his way, coming out of that castle section, and now downhill through 13, through 14, and then you prepare yourself for the downhill braking zone at turn 15, holding in 7th gear, downshifting into 3rd, hoping over the car with the inside line in. Whereas Charlie Harris in that middle sector, it's pretty decent, but he's a little way off. What we see for the top 3, the Renault driver gets on the throttle yet again, coming out of that turn 16, the last significant corner on the track, then to the few kicks to end up the lap. Then turn 20 is the last one on the agenda, and I think Charlie Harris will probably be putting himself in P4 with this lap as it stands. The Renault driver coming up to the line, and he's going to put himself indeed in that P4, just over a second off the top 3 that at the moment are pretty isolated. But Aiden, in this bizarre qualifying session, 4.5 minutes to go. Still a lot of drivers that haven't got times on the board. Amazing hour on pole position, but it's such an early time in the session that he set that time. Surely he doesn't hold on to it.
I mean, it's going to have to take a lot of people to actually set times, as Mays has retired in the pit lane, interestingly. So Mays hasn't even left his pit box in this qualifying session and has retired. So that is all but guaranteed the back row of the grid at least. So now it's just basically seeing who's going to be qualifying 11th. So it all depends on whether the likes of Zaldimer actually want to go out on the track or whether they want to start in 11th place. I think Zaldimer could set a time on the mediums and possibly get himself inside the top 10 if he wants to. So very, very bizarre qualifying session, as you say. And it's going to have to be, at the moment, it looks like the only people that are going to be able to knock Amazing Hour off the top spot are M Short and Coutinho. They're the only ones within 0.2 of a second. Everyone else is well over a second off our top 3. It's a real strung out qualifying so far, still with 4 people yet to set times in the session. Neo's on the track but has gone for a set of medium compound tyres. Remember, he dived into the pit lane a bit earlier on, abandoning his run in qualifying, going for a set of medium tyres, maybe thinking that because there's so few people actually setting valid times so far, if he can get maybe inside the top 5 on a set of mediums, that could pay dividends for him in the race. Scott Bugner is on a lap in front of him as well, but he's invalidated, so that is not going to count for him. He's going to have to go again or come into the pit lane and hope that he can get back out of the pits with enough time left in the session. Really, really strong out qualifying, like you said. Neo, I think, is going to be the next person to set a valid time in this session as it stands, unless I think one of the McLarens is in front. That's John on a lap at the moment. He's found a lot of time in the middle part of the lap, but he is still well off the pace on those medium compound tyres. Neo then coming up towards the line in the Red Bull. You would imagine this is going to put him around where Creaser is on those medium tyres. He goes into P5, 0.3 of a second clear of Creaser, who's gone out on the soft compound tyres. So Neo, recognising that there's not a lot of people setting times in qualifying, puts himself inside the top 5 on a set of mediums. That could play perfectly for him in the race.
Yeah, we'll see if he holds on to that place. Now, cars out there going on softs, trying to get on the board in this qualifying session. I'm not sure if anyone's on a flying lap at the moment. I think Nightshade maybe the farthest along then in the Ferrari, but he's knocked his front wing, I think, throughout the lap then. Heading to turn 15, he's into the wall again, and the front wing pretty much entirely gone. And so the Ferrari, I don't think he's getting a competitive lap time out of it. They go straight across turn 16. He's had enough with that lap again into the wall. And so I'm not sure if anyone else, I think we're coming down to, for pole position, it's going to be between this top three. Amazing Hour again is leading the way out there on the track in the middle sector. It's flying. It's a quarter of a second up then. Now, through the exit of turn 16 and now going for the line. Now Amazing Hour trying to get himself up towards the championship lead. What can he do now? To the end of the lap then. Coming through now. He's going to open up that DRS and put you in a turn 20 then. Over the white line now. Again getting that DRS open now. Cruising down towards the start finish line to finish off his session. Comes through at 137.2, and that is comfortably pole for the moment. Charlie Harris has retired. I think I'm on track actually. Head through turn 4. Amazing Hour going to the top, but I think the only people really going for pole position might be that duo that you mentioned of M. Short and Coutinho. We'll see. They're still out there. We'll see what they can do. Coutinho, I think, backed off a lap in that middle sector, so Amazing Hour holding pole. We'll see if the Mercedes driver can hold on to it.
I just caught that actually at the end. Coutinho got massively compromised by Charlie Harris's retired car. Charlie Harris's retired car was still driving along through 5 and 6 and was on the apex of turn 6 when Coutinho arrived at the corner. Had to back out of the corner unless he was going to run into the back of the Renault. So that is a massive shame for Coutinho, who's not going to be able, unless he gets back to the line in time, it's not going to be able to set a time, and I don't think he's got enough time left in the session to get back to the line in time. It's going to be right on the bubble. I don't think he's quite there, so that is a shame for him, as Creaser has improved on his medium run to go up into P4 in a 38 flat. That is by far the closest we've seen anyone get to the rest of the top three then. Easy P4 so far, as M Short's just started his final run in qualifying in that Williams, so we'll see what he can do. Coutinho, I think, is just too far away from the line to set another time. He's got 10 seconds left. It's going to be right on the bubble. Neo's retired from the session. That's him done. He's currently 6th on the grid. Coutinho coming up to the line, really pushing to try and cross the line in time. See if he can actually get to the line in time. I think he did with about a second to spare. That was right on the bubble. Nice stuff from Coutinho to get another time on the board. Hopefully we'll see if that lap time is worth it, as M-Shot, meanwhile, massively up in the first part of the lap, has found 2/10 in the first sector, so we'll ride with the Williams man, who's looking really strong in the first part of the lap.
So we'll see if he can continue to build on that, and in this middle sector down towards the castle section. How on edge is he? He gets right up to the walls again. Going uphill with maximum commitment then. We've got several drivers coming up their qualifying sessions there, but it looks like the pole fight is going to come down to those few drivers. Still, Amazing Hour on the road. He's not going to be able to set a faster flying lap time, so it'll come down to M Short then. Heading into turn 15, across the inside curve, right up to the outside. He's got 3/10 to fight for pole position, and in the middle sector, he's found those 3/10 and some. He's 4/10 up in the middle sector. M Short flying along nicely. Can he snatch pole position from the claws of LR? Amazing Hour now coming out of turn 19 now to the line. That's just flat out. Does he have enough straight line speed, low enough dragging that setup to carry him through the pole position? It's occupied by Amazing Hour to the line. M Short 17 snatches pole by 200ths of a second. Extraordinary stuff. M Short just about gets it. Crease is still out there. He's backed off a lap. M Short laying a day, gets pole possession. Amazing Hour right with him, 200ths of a second in it. That sets up to be a great duel in the race. M Short just about bringing that one home.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from M Short there. 19 thousandths of a second separates our top two in qualifying. Coutinho retired from that final run, unfortunately. Ends up 3rd on the grid though, so still a solid qualifying for his first round of the season. That's when he threw the full grid then. Only the top 6 set times on the soft compound tyres. And look at the spread in the field. M Short on pole by only 200ths of a second. Coutinho 3rd, half a second off pole in the end. Creaser in 4th, the only other driver that managed to get within a second of M Short. An Amazing Hour. He's 4th on the softs, ahead of the 2 Renaults of Charlie Harris and TFP Brewich, who are running in 5th and 6th. They're ahead of the 2 Red Bull pairings, 7th and 8th, but crucially on a set of medium compound tyres. So we'll see what they can do in the race. They've got more to play with in terms of strategy now. John on the medium tyres as well in 9th place, ahead of Nightshade, Scott Bugner, Maze and Vax Viking. All 4 of them not setting times. Maze and Vax Viking retiring. Nightshade and Scott Bugner were out on the track but just could not set valid lap times. So a real up and down, topsy-turvy qualifying session with a very bizarre grid in the end that could lead to a very interesting race.
We'll see how that is going to come through. Certainly that run off the line between Short and Amazing Hour is going to be one to watch. Then they're going to try and battle throughout that first sector. We have just got less cars on the track, so I think we should be quite clean. We'll have a better chance of it all staying clean throughout those first few corners, particularly that turn 2, that pinch point at the apex. Everyone's going to have to be being aware then, but I think that there should be a better chance of everyone getting through it safe and sound. So now we just get ready. And now this bizarre grid with, I think, probably not that many drivers, but maybe about 6 or 7 drivers that are going to be starting on the soft compounded tyres inside the top 10. Never seen anything like this, to be honest. But we'll see how it goes. Certainly quite a multitude of drivers going on for the medium tyres in that qualifying session. I think actually one person actually managed to get within the top 10 without exiting the pit lane, or at least not getting a valid lap time in the session. So bizarre qualifying. We'll see how that carries over into the race. One thing we know is that the championship rivals look to go toe-to-toe from the front. Short pole, Amazing Hour alongside him. We'll see how it goes, and we could have a race today as it has never seen before here at EML Formula 1.
Yeah, this could be a really, really close fight between these two, and a great opportunity for both Short and Amazing Hour now to really stretch their legs in the championship, make a name for themselves at the front, with a lot of the front runners, including Jurassic and Venom's, not here tonight. So that's going to be very interesting for these guys to see what they can pull off, whether they can use this race to their advantage. Obviously, a bit of a shorter calendar than we usually see in a regular league racing season. So the bigger advantage you can get earlier on, the better it pays off for you at the end of the season. So great opportunity for these guys. Coutinho then on debut 3rd place. How do you see Coutinho pulling off tonight? We know from past races that he has got a lot of raw speed. Do you see him being able to get in and amongst the top 2 here, or do you think he's just kind of settling for maybe a 3rd place finish?
I don't think that he should be lying down and accepting P3 at all. One thing to note is that he set that time at that 37.6 very early on in the session. The guys that ended up going quicker had the advantage of an extra on, and Coutinho couldn't quite get a clean lap in at the end. So I think he has the raw pace to at least keep within contact of these front two. I don't think he should be lying down. But certainly, some of the drivers to be watching out for. The 2 Red Bulls, I think, are certainly in a very odd position. They're quite high up in the order, and they're still starting on the medium compounded tyres, and they could maybe run a bit more of an alternate strategy, maybe a medium to hard strategy throughout, because these soft tyres are certainly not favourable as a whole in the opening set. So those Red Bulls, and also all the medium runners behind, starting a bit further down the field, they'll have a good chance of maybe trying to keep within contact, use the lesser tyre wear, and then maybe coming on even stronger at the end of the race. Could it even be a soft set to close things off? They've got a lot of strategic flexibility, and so the top 6 could be really stretched to try and hold them back in this race.
Yeah, they definitely could. We know from previous experience around this track that the soft tyres, in terms of raw speed, do tend to die off around this circuit. Around lap 5 or 6, which is when we'll probably start seeing if someone's going for the hard compound tyres. That's when we're likely to see someone come into the pits. If they want to go for a set of mediums in this race, expect them to try and extend to about lap 8 or 9 to try and get those tyres to the end of the race. Got to look out for the people as well that didn't set times in qualifying. So Nightshade, Scott Bogner, Mays and Vax Viking all didn't set times. They start on a fresh set of tyres. Nightshade has gone for the mediums in 10th. Scott Bogner has gone for the softs in 11th. Mays has gone for the mediums in 12th. And Vax Viking, crucially at the back of the field, has gone for the hard compound tyres. So he's going to go very long in that first stint, probably go for a set of softs at the end of the race. So we'll see what he can do from the back. But everyone is lining up on the grid then for the 3rd round of the EML Formula 1 season. Short and Amazing Hour, 2 drivers that have been right at the front of this championship so far. Short a championship leader, Amazing Hour already a race winner this season. These two on the front row. Coutinho won his debut, Creaser in 4th with his best qualifying of the season. Who's going to get the best start in towards turn 1? Really long hold, but the lights are out and away they go, and it looks a fairly even start from all of the top 4, you've got to say, although Coutinho's had a great start from the second row. He's going to try and go all the way around the outside of Amazing Hour at turn 1. Gets it done nice and cleanly, and Coutinho makes the move stick on the Mercedes man, already up into 2nd place. Amazing Hour at a disadvantage. Scott Bugner on the soft tyres at the back of the field has had a great start. He's already up into 8th place. He's past Nightshades and Zaldama, crucially, already on the soft tyres. Neo's now ahead of Brewich in the Renault as well, a bit further back. So Neo on the mediums has had a a strong start to this race. All clean on the first part of this lap, it seems so far. A little bit detached at the back, I think, for Maze and Vax Viking. They've just been a little bit detached after a bit of a contact towards the back, but no one, I think, has picked up damage. End of the first sector, M short leads, but Coutinho, crucially, has got himself right in the thick of that battle and ahead of Amazing Hour. Kreitzer close in behind in fourth in the Racing Point. Charlie Harris not too far back as well in the Renault in fifth, and Neo up a place on the medium tyres.
Yeah, Neil getting that good launch off the lead. He's already beginning to slip away for that top five. And as a caught, that's Charlie Harris off then at the castle section. And Neil has well made an error, but Charlie Harris from the top line possessions is gone. Wow, what was it to say the Nightshades? But back goes the Renault. Just getting involved then in that castle section has claimed his first vector. VSC has been deployed, neutralising the race. Charlie going off then. He may be able to get back to the pit lane. I'm not entirely sure if you're able to get away. We'll see how long this VSC lasts. Coutinho, though, was the big story. Round the outside of Amazing Hour. Great stuff. Now he runs second. M Short holds on to the lead. Manic stuff down there. We saw Charlie going off. Looked all clean down there at the first few corners, but predictably once we got to the castle section, everything started kicking off. Yeah,
Vax Viking as well at the back of the field on the hard compound tyres was facing the wrong way in the castle section. He's lost his front wing, which I think is why the virtual safety car came out in the end, as I think the virtual safety car is just about ready to get going again here, as people are starting to have a look at people towards turn one. I think they're trying to preempt the start of this virtual safety car restart, and already we've got drivers into the pit lane. Vax Viking is out of the session. He's crashed coming through turn 19 without that front wing, and I think has taken a wheel off that McLaren. What a disastrous race of Vax Viking, retiring and qualifying, not making it to the end of the first lap in the race. Charlie Harris is into the pit lane, Nightshades is into the pit lane, Zaldimer as well in the Red Bull, had such a great qualifying, up in 8th on the mediums, now down at the back of the field on the hards in 12th, having I think picked up damage early on in the race as well. So a lot of drivers taken out of contention early, and that mistake from Charlie Harris, along with the mistake that we saw from Neo as well, has really allowed the top four to try and break away from the rest of the field. I think the gap already is nearly 4 seconds between Neo in 5th place and the top four.
Yeah, it's opening up rapidly. What a rate of increase, allowing that lead quartet to move away. It's still led by M Short 17, but Coutinho putting on the pressure. Amazing Hour trying to recover from a below par start, trying to chase down those front two. Increase are still just about hanging on in there. P4 for the moment. These four looking pretty comfortable, running their pace. Of course, mistakes can always creep in here at Baku, so they've got to watch out for each other. We'll get DRS activated very soon. We're going to be able to get really top racing going down those main straights. Of course, DRS at a turn 1 and turn 3 over the laps here back at end. We've still got 26 ahead of us, but M Short leads the way. Vax Viking now completely out of the session. We've got yellows in centre 2. That was that Charlie off again. It was that Nightshades in the Ferrari running wide out of turn 12 and dropping back then, and major damage then. Dropping back, and it's a disaster for both these two and Zerma as well. They're well detached from the field after those pit stops. M Short leads the way. Coutinho second, but the Amazing Hour trying to charge through start as the Nightshades out of the race, and is that coming through turn 14?
Turn 15 it is, yeah, another claim victim. Someone, we saw a lot of drivers hitting the wall there in qualifying. Without the front wing, I think Nightshades has just outbroke himself on those hards and just ploughed straight into the wall at turn 15, and already 2 laps into the race, and we've already got 2 drivers out of this race. It was a qualifying of attrition. It's now already turning into a race of attrition as well, with 2 drivers out of the race, and it's just going to prove as well that the hard compound tyres at the moment seem very difficult to handle. Both Nightshades and Vax Viking on the hards, making crucial mistakes at the castle section. We're back under green once again, and Coutinho is looking very strong here. He's tucked right up behind the rear wing of M Short in that Williams. Not going for the move just yet, but I think the move could be coming very, very soon. An Amazing Hour, once again, we've seen this from Amazing Hour in a few races so far this season, that he kind of just sits back and waits for the right moment, and when we get to the halfway point of the race, that's when Amazing Hour seems to start to come alive.
Yeah, he looks content to sit back for the moment there. We saw Scott Buckner going into the escape room. We saw it in qualifying a few times as well. He's off at turn 3. No damage. The Alfa Romeo can just about continue on. Still the top 4 running cleanly up at the front then. And Coutinho pressuring and threatening M Short for the race lead. We'll see if he can get through on the Williams, who's often faded in races after really strong qualifyings. We'll see what he can do now with pressure for the AlphaTauri. Closing him down all the time. He is right on him. Heading on to the main straight and looking for that race lead. Now can M Short hold him off? You said with DRS, it's an inevitability. Now, up to the outside lane, right up against the wall, but he fades the gap, and Coutinho to the race lead. In the end, M Short just couldn't hold it back. They swap for the lead now out there on the track. Then Coutinho goes through. M Short just keeps it together out of turn 1. Amazing ever Cruiser look content. Just hang on in there, and the gap rapidly increasing behind Neo after just 3 laps. Now 5.5 seconds behind. The pace advantage these top 4 have is this size, and they're pulling away at such a rate they might be able to make an extra pit stop and still come out in front.
Yeah, they're really flying away. The soft tyres have got a lot of pace early on in this one, and Neo, running around all on his own, doesn't have the help of DRS from anyone in front, has got no one behind him really within proximity. Just running around his own on these medium compound tyres, I think waiting for some sort of drop-off on those soft compound tyres, which hasn't come just yet. Coming out of turn 1 as well, Amazing Hour was very, very close to putting that car in the wall. He does look a little bit all over the place at the moment, does that Mercedes. We saw it in qualifying on his first run. He hit the wall 3 times on his first run in qualifying, and early on in this race so far, Amazing Hour has looked a little bit squirrely at the rear end of that Mercedes, not looking too comfortable at the moment in that car. And again there, coming out of turn 12, just a little bit loose at the rear end, so maybe Amazing Hour doesn't quite have the comfort in that car when it's on high fuel. Maybe when it gets a little bit lower fuel towards the end, that's when he'll start to shine. Crease as well, you've got to say, at the moment in that Racing Point was nearly a second off pole position in qualifying, but in the race so far, at the Racing Point, he's actually sticking with the top 3 really nicely.
Again, he's actually getting quite close to the back of Amazing Hour, then not letting this lead trio from qualifying that look pretty dominant off the hook at the moment, and these 4 still continuing to pull away. And Neo at least a second a lap seems to be the rate of drop off for the Red Bull driver there, but Baruch behind this is quite able to match that pace either. M Short again, trying to chase down Coutinho, but the AlphaTauri will hold on. Then the Williams getting very close to the rear wing, can't quite get through then. And that turn 1's going to have to bide his time. I think that's what he's going to do, though. Looks like he's going to set back then. Further down the order, we have Yon actually coming under pressure from Maze. That's coming on to the mid straight. Maze gets up alongside. Then he is in a turn 20. And with DRS, releasing pull back through into that 7th place. But these guys, they've came in and they've already, well, they haven't actually came in. They've just lost quite a substantial amount of time. Yon's going to the pit lane early, but the gap's already opening up. And besides this, top 4, really seeing quite a spread out field already. A couple of VSCs, no full safety cars. We're seeing the effects of that then. Behind P4, the field pretty spread out at the moment then, and no one else besides these 4 looking really serious contention right now.
Yeah, it's been, with the virtual safety cars in these opening laps, it has been a lot of drivers making a lot of mistakes so far and just haven't really got away with it. You've got to say, really, from 6th down, pretty much everyone so far has made some sort of error in this race that's cost them quite a bit of time. It has been, well, even Neo, 5th down after making that mistake on the first lap, cost himself a lot of time to these top 4. So a lot of drivers just not feeling comfortable around this circuit. It is really showing as the top 4 head through turn 15. Amazing Hour all of a sudden now looking a lot more comfortable, tucked right underneath the rear ring of them short here. Has got himself a 7th, 10th gap to Crease. So Crease is still within DRS range. Just sitting there at the moment, I think waiting for something to happen with his top 3 in front. Doesn't maybe quite have the raw speed, but is keeping within touching distance of the guys in front. Amazing Hour, I think maybe might be looking at a move. Actually, M Short might be looking for a move here on Coutinho. As actually is Coutinho diving into the pit lane. I don't know if he is. He is. Coutinho then at the end of lap 5 is coming into the pit. So quite an early pit stop for Coutinho. Clearly going for the hard compound tyres you would expect here as he comes into his pit box. It is a set of medium compound tyres, interestingly. So Coutinho from the softs to the mediums, 21 laps on the medium compound tyres. That surely isn't possible around this circuit.
I think he's committed to a 2-stop strategy, which, to be fair, with less traffic, might actually be a strategy that's worthwhile. I saw Amazing Hour trying to close down on M Short, made a bit of a mistake, and Creaser is just allowed back into that range. But I think that is the strategy for Coutinho going, and he's waiting around the track and trying to get temperature into those tires early on. But Coutinho, very interesting then. He's going for that extra stop. Clearly, there's no chance the mediums go that distance. So the question is, what do the top 3 do? Do they look to come in, get mediums on, or are they going to stretch a bit further, ensure that they're getting those tires to the end of the race? Then we'll see what they do. M Short still leading the way at the moment, and they're just beginning to string out a little bit amongst this lead trio. Still holding pretty station, no major developments, but that strategy from Coutinho, very interesting. He's come out at P5 and plenty of clean air. He can really push those tires to the very limit. And this two-stop strategy might not work out so bad for the AlphaTauri driver.
Yeah, especially like you say, with the lack of traffic for Kikino, the only driver in front of him on the road that is considered traffic would be Neo, and Neo is 8 seconds up the road at the moment, so Kikino has got a lot of free room in front of him to try and push into one of those mediums, especially as well if the top 3 decide to go for the hard compound tyres. That could play beautifully into Kikino's hands, who can really push on maybe 2 sets of mediums or 1 set of mediums and then a set of softs, as Memshot staying out, Amazing Hours reacting to the pit stop of Kikino, is coming into the pits, and Creaser is following him in. So let's see what these two do. That could be crucial for this race, and Amazing Hours gone for the hard compound tyres. So Amazing Hours clearly going for the one stop towards the end of the race. What is Creaser going to do? Creaser is also going for the hard compound tyres for the one stop towards the end. So Kikino now on the medium tyres has got to try and stretch his legs. Got to try and use the freshness of these tyres to really pull away and put some pace in. He's come out ahead of Amazing Hour and Creaser, as you would expect. Now you've got to say, in these next few laps, Kikino's got to build somewhat of about a 10-second gap to these guys behind if he wants to make this strategy work.
Well, the advantage that he does have now is that as we got further down the order, then Zernemark moving past Mays up into P7 then for the Red Bull, and Mays couldn't hold it back. Charlie Harris is also getting in on this. Heat pressure the Mercedes as well, gets alongside turn 1, will clear it before turn 2. Mistake from Mays then, costing him dearly and dropping behind then on those medium tyres that he started the race on. Really not having a good time of it out there at the moment, as Mays currently down in that 9th place. But going back to the strategic developments, the advantage that Kikino has is that he's outside the DRS, so Amazing Hour can't piggyback off of him and get an advantage for a few laps unless he has some mega pace on these hard tires. Surely he's not going to be able to close in. So now Kikino, he's in clean air, he can focus on his own race. He might catch Neo later on, but with DRS, Neo should be too much of a problem. So he can just hang out there. But of course, it will be a battle for net position. Neo is probably not going to let him through too easily, as Mays loses another position. The third one on the lap now behind Scott Buckner. He's had a mystifying lack of pace here tonight, has Mays. I'm not sure if he's got slight damage. But Kikino moving clear. Amazing Hour not quite matching his pace so far, so the AlphaTauri going well. M-Short coming in as well. Surely that's for the hards, but he might well lose out here. We'll see how powerful that undercut's going to prove on those hard tyres.
Yeah, he's into the pit lane. One that may be too late, possibly, is Charlie Harris, the first driver to pick up a time penalty for track limits. And actually, no, M-Short's gone for the medium compound tyres, so he's gone for something similar to Kikino here. So is M-Short going for the two-stop, or do you think you can get the mediums to the end of the race from here? But crucially, he's been jumped by Amazing Hour. Now Creaser right side by side with him into the braking zone for 2. Creaser can't quite get ahead of M-Short, but crucially, Amazing Hour has jumped M-Short by quite a margin in just one lap. Look at that. It was about 0.8 of a second gap between M-Short and Amazing Hour in M-Short's favour. M-Short now 1.5 seconds behind, so clearly showing that the soft tyres had a massive drop-off in pace towards the end of their stint. And so far, after his opening lap on the hard compound tyres, Amazing Hour only a few tenths slower than Kikino, so far at least, Amazing Hour, this is working out quite nicely for the Mercedes driver.
Yeah, he's got M-Short behind as well, maybe looking to threaten on those fresh mediums. He's going to have some pace on him as well, so we'll see how that one is going to unfold then. A soft to medium strategy is possible around this track, pitting on laps 7 to 8, but it is risky. So watch out then. M-Short, I'm pretty confident that Kikino has pitted too early. He's committed to that two-stop strategy. On M-Short, has a small chance of making it work, I think. So we'll see what he can do then if he's going to commit to it. We'll get our answers further down the line. He does get very close to the wall in turn 15 in M-Short. Maybe taking a little while to get adapted to these tires. He's not quite showing the pace he would have wanted. Kikino's pace, conversely, is looking a little bit better. Pulling clear at the moment then. Amazing Hour is not too far off the pace, but Kikino nevertheless is still moving clear. Creaser though, keeping M-Short honest then. M-Short's going to get into the rhythm of those tires. Looks like it's sitting pretty standing at the moment. Kikino closing down, fast lap of the race. He's got good pace then. He's chasing down Neil pretty rapidly. Neil's going to be looking over his shoulder soon. The key for Kikino is that he can't let Neil hold him up there. The Red Bull will be right in front of him in a few laps time, probably winning quite a while before he pits in, so Kikino's going to get a move on. He'll be with him soon, and he's going to try and play the traffic to his advantage and try and stretch that gap to the chasing pack.
Yeah, he really has. He's got to try and catch that Red Bull at the right part of the circuit. Obviously, massive 2-kilometre section where you can drive flat out. He's got to try and catch him there. If you catch him at this part of the track that Kikino is currently at, there is not really any overtaking opportunities until you get to that pit straight. So he's got to really try and find the gap when it gets to him as well. Looking a bit further down, just past the missing out. M-Short, like you say, taking a bit of time to get bedded in with these medium compound tyres. At the moment, the medium compound tyres aren't showing a lot of raw speed. Neo didn't really start closing in on the soft runners before they all pitted. And M-Short at the moment isn't running any faster than Amazing Hour in front of him. You've got to say they're running at pretty level speed at the moment. Creaser in 5th has dropped a little bit of time on that previous lap, but you would expect that just with the natural pace advantage you would see between M-Short and Creaser. But M-Short not quite closing in on Amazing Hour at the moment. That's either the mediums aren't performing very well, or Amazing Hour is just absolutely stunning on these hard compound tyres. We don't quite know just yet. We'll probably find out a little bit later on, but at the moment you've got to say Kuginu's not really doing enough.
He's pulled out about a second in the last 3 laps. I agree with you, it's not quite enough. It's a few tenths a lap, but we'll see what he can do. Maybe with some fresh tyres, he'll probably, if he can stretch these mediums out, he can get softs on at the end and try and make work with that. But Amazing Hour looks to just have so much raw pace at that stage of the race, and now that he's out the DRS train, he's really starting to establish himself. And M-Short behind, we've seen him just fade. We saw it in Australia when he had a positive qualifying, decent start to the race, and then just slipped back as the race evolved. And now Creaser, now on pace, looks every inch the equal of the Williams driver, and is sticking within that DRS range, sticking within him and keeping him honest, right within that range. At the moment, Neo seems like the only realistic threat to these guys, maybe on softs at the end, but these guys that have already filled nearly a pit stop gap. Neo for the back then, as we got a huge barrel there for the back then. Brewich at a huge spot to Scott Butler, blocking up and running wide, and a turbo into the wall and losing his front wing. It was ambitious on the brakes, but it didn't quite work out. And now the Alpha down there looks to be all clear with some of the debris flying around. He has the full lap now with Alpha front wing. Miserable for Scott Bungner. He just got a bit too ambitious trying to get to him one day to the inside line, couldn't get it stopped. Went straight into the wall now and went up. And looking up the front there, the Kagino is right with Neo, and now he's to get past the Red Bull. He's going to get held back here, but with Amazing Hour's pace, even just a slight time loss is going to be holding him back. He needs to get past Neo as soon as it possibly can.
Yeah, he's really caught Neo very, very quickly. It was only 4 seconds a couple of laps ago. Neo, at the moment on raw speed, Neo just doesn't seem to have a lot. I don't know if Neo's got any damage. I can't see any visible damage on our end, but Neo's just not got a lot of speed at the moment. I said already, but so far this season, the Red Bulls haven't by any stretch of the means been slow. They've just not really had the pace to challenge the top 5 at the moment. Neo's in a net P5 in this race, but his pace compared to our top 4 is somewhat a little bit off the pace you would expect for a driver like Neo. He's just not sticking with it at the moment, and Kugino already on lap 11 is past Neo and up back into the race lead. Amazing Hour will be next to have a go at Neo, but I know Neo's got great raw speed. We've seen it in previous races. We saw it in the Esports Masters League Teams Championship where him and M-Short ran very closely at Silverstone for XL. Coming into this race, I was expecting Neo to be quite strong on those medium compound tyres, but already a pit stop behind our net top 4. Neo's just really struggling at the moment on these medium compound tyres.
And you'd think usually 11 laps into the race, being a pit stop off the race leaders is going to put you further down, maybe even out the points in a lot of other leagues. But here, with a more spread out field, he's still got a really good chance of a top 5 finish and a good haul of points, because so far Brewich currently sits in that P6 and no one else, I think everyone behind has had significant damage at some point in the race, and that's really set them back, which kind of allowed Neo to just run his own race and keep it clean up at the front of the field. But he is being caught rapidly now by our Amazing Hour, the Mercedes driver now, looking to get up to him and start looking for a way through the gap. 9/10 of a second between them and Amazing Hour. He has burned quite a bit of his battery in the last few laps, trying to maybe get up towards the pack ahead, but this is now allowing Gigino to just pull out just a little bit more of a gap. And the question is, Amazing Hour, he's still about 7/10 gap, 7/10 back from the Red Bull. He's going to need a good run down the straight to try and confirm that's overtake. That DRS is going to assist him, but can he get through quickly here? Neo's still got a good advantage heading out through turn 19. He's using overtake then, this Neo, and he has every right to. He's got a lot more to his name than the Mercedes driver chasing him down behind him has then, but the gap coming down to the tight end. Half a second, 4/10, 3/10, and Neo going in early then, so he's going for, I think, hard tires. He's not going to be willing to stretch it to softs, and that frees up Amazing Hour. The net gain has certainly been with the Mercedes. That gap going out to about 2.5 seconds, but with DRS assistance and not really getting held up through the corners as Coutinho did. Now Amazing Hour within 2 seconds, and as it stands right now, an extra pit stop for the AlphaTauri is surely not going to be making up then, because Amazing Hour at the moment is sticking well within contact and keeping that net race lead in play for the moment.
Yeah, Coutinho's just not got enough raw speed on these medium compound tyres, and no one, you've got to say on the track, at the moment, no one on the medium compound tyres is showing enough raw speed, because Amazing Hour is still pulling away from M-Short, and M-Short is somewhat holding up Creaser a little bit now. Creaser tucked right underneath the rear wing of that Williams, doing quite nicely. I'm quite shocked actually, the hard compound tyres have been much more competitive than I was expecting them to be. I was expecting the mediums to have maybe half a second, maybe a second a lap advantage on the hard compound tyres. That has not been the case by any stretch of the means. You've got to say, at this point in the race, the hards actually look like the faster compound of tyres. So this two-stop strategy that Coutinho we think is on at the moment is not working. He's going to have a mega end to this race, or hope for some sort of safety car to bring him into contention. M-Short's going to have to get these tyres to the end of the race, and if he can't, he's really going to struggle on pace at the end compared to the hard runners, who will not have a problem getting these tyres to the end of the race. So I'm just a little bit surprised that we're seeing the medium runners not having a lot of raw speed. M-Short now nearly 3 seconds off the back of Amazing Hour.
Yeah, there really just doesn't seem to be, maybe just a lack of overall grip. I'm not sure, you wouldn't expect this usually from mediums. At pretty much any other track on the calendar, it's an incredibly strong race tire. We've not seen that so far in this one. We're nearing the halfway point in the race, and still status quo is maintained. Coutinho leads, he runs very well to get to the wall out of turn one there. Coutinho's lost part of his front wing. The end plate flying off. He just outbraked himself then, and that is going to hand the racing to Amazing Hour. Surely he's going to have to come in. It will cement the two-stop strategy. It's probably going to be mediums going on again, but that's going to really set it back, and you sense he's out of net fight for the lead unless we get a safety car now in this race. Coutinho going off then, a huge error, an Amazing Hour already really good man. Now the race win is firmly in the Mercedes driver's hands.
Yeah, such a crucial mistake for Coutinho to make in the lead of this race, running deep on his own at the first corner. We've seen a lot of drivers running deep into turn one already, as further down the field, Zaldimer and Charlie Harris going at it at the moment. Zaldimer holding station ahead of the Renault driver, who is tucked right up behind him. Charlie Harris has caught up to the back of Zaldimer since their early pit stop in this race. Doing quite nicely are these two drivers. They're not closing in on Brewich in front. We've got a yellow flag in the first sector. That is the McLaren of John, who is a lap down at the moment, gone straight on at the escape road at turn 3. But yeah, a good battle going on there for P7 between Zaldimer and Charlie. Holding on quite nicely, these two. Zaldimer, you would think, could possibly get to the end of the race though on those hard compound tyres. Charlie Harris has got no hope of getting to the end on those mediums. He's going to have to pit again in this race to get to the end. So Zaldimer doing enough at the moment to maybe secure somewhat of a recovery P7 finish after picking damage up early on. Looking to the front of the field though, are we going to see Coutinho come into the pit then? You've got to say, if he wants to salvage maybe a 4th place on this race, he's got to come in now, change that front wing, go onto a fresh set of medium tyres and maybe battle Neo for that 5th place, that 4th place on the road. And looking like it, Coutinho is going to dive into the pit lane. That two-stop strategy that we thought he was on hasn't worked, and a crucial error puts him out of contention now for the race victory.
Well, unless circumstances fall his way in the last few laps, that is certainly going to work against him. So into the pit lane goes the AlphaTauri, front wing change predictably. He'll surely be behind Neil, but with the top, well, it's just a theoretical tyre advantage. But we have seen the medium struggle. We'll see what the hard tyres of Neil are able to do. He is going to have a good advantage actually then. Coutinho will come out in an isolated 5th position. No one really near him on the road. He can get on with his race then. He's going to come out about 3 seconds shy of the Red Bull in front. We'll see how much pace and how much grip he's going to possess. And Neo up to 4th now. Clean driving is paying off for him, but now Coutinho up behind him. We'll see what he can do. He's got slightly less wear in those tyres, but that will change in the next few laps. Coutinho's going to try and close in. Neo trying to hold it back then. The gap 17 seconds, and now surely now we have a 3-way fight there. And at the moment, Creaser doesn't quite have the pace to match Amazing Hour. M-Short doesn't either, and he's going to struggle to get those tyres to the end. So at the moment, Amazing Hour looks comfortable, and just like in Bahrain, he's going to look to try and control this race in the checkered flag, and surely establish himself as a huge top-line championship contender in this EML Formula 1 league.
And once again, we've seen it on the second stint in a race as when Amazing Hour comes live. The first stint was a little bit lackluster from the Mercedes man, running in 3rd after starting 2nd, and then just not really making any impact on the top 2 on the soft compound tyres, but changes to another set of tyres, and Amazing Hour just comes to life in that 2nd part of the race. We've seen that in both of the first rounds so far this season. M-Short really now has a task on his hands to try and close in on Amazing Hour. Amazing Hour doesn't have any DRS to any drivers in front, but we've already seen that M-Short on the medium tyres just doesn't have the raw speed And like you said, he is going to struggle to get those tyres to the end. So now, you've got to say that if Creaser sits in behind M-Short here and just follows the Williams man around until those medium tyres start to go off, Creaser here has got a great opportunity at a possible second place finish.
Yeah, it didn't look great from earlier on, but he's really come to life in the race, and now he is just sitting on the back of M-Short, and he's doing exactly what he needs to do. If Amazing Hour gets a penalty, he is at the moment just about within range, and M-Short, we haven't seen him be able to get a lot out of those medium tyres. If I were him, I think it's a no-brainer to pit again. There's no point in risking it because the gap is so big behind. You might be losing out to Coutinho, but I think that in general, you've got a much better shot at maybe trying to snatch it. And actually, he's got a good chance of coming out in P4 anyway, because the gap to Neil behind is extending. Coutinho is a lot quicker than the Red Bull. He seems to have those medium tyres really switched on now, looks a lot happier. And now one of the fastest cars on the track, he is chasing down the Red Bull in front, looking for that 4th place. But M-Short, he's just about out that pit window, I think, or very, very close to it. Neil's only dropping back. Coutinho, though, is getting up to the Red Bull, looking for a way through. We've got pit stops as well further down the field. Then Charlie Harris comes in, he'll emerge behind Mays, still out there on the tires that they started on, again, just lacking raw pace in this race. But Coutinho chasing down Neil, has much more raw speed. Surely Neil's going to struggle to hold it back, as the AlphaTauri driver is flying up to his rear wing and then pressuring him here on lap 15.
Yeah, it looks much faster at this point in the race. And like I say, Neo just doesn't have the raw speed compared to the initial top 4 we had in this race. So Coutinho should be able to get this move done down this pit straight further down. Charlie Harris has got the move done on Mays in towards turn 4. So Charlie Harris back up into 8th place. He is a pit stop behind Zadama, so we'll see what the gap is between those two coming towards the end. Zadama will struggle on those hards at the end of the race. He should get them to the end just fine, but the pace-wise, he might lose a bit of time as Coutinho here coming through the kink of turn 20. It's going to open up his DRS, and I don't think Neo really has anything to fight with here. Coutinho is going to go to the inside line all the way to the middle of the track. Coutinho is going to get the move done well before they get towards turn 1. Coutinho then back up into 4th place after that damage, but again runs a bit deep into turn 1. Just about gets away with it, but Coutinho really struggling at the moment on the brakes. He's gone a bit deep into a lot of corners already so far in this race. That seems to be his Achilles heel at the moment. Neo on his overtake on the DRS coming down towards turn 3 once again, maybe thinking about coming back at the AlphaTauri in towards turn 3, but he's just not quite close enough in the braking zone. Coutinho then up into 4th place, and he's got 18.5 seconds in front. He could close that gap down if the top 3 do start to battle, but you've got to say now it's going to have to take either a safety car or some sort of damage for one of our top 3 drivers for Coutinho to get back on the podium.
And it's not looked like that's been a possibility at any stage so far. These top 3 have been so clean, but so did Coutinho up to the stage where he went off at turn 1. So anything can happen, and anything is a possibility, especially at a circuit like the Baku City circuit. We're still seeing M-Short staying out there. Amazing Hour's actually made a mistake because he's lost quite a bit of time. I think he's still just about fine. His front wing still looks intact, but it may be a bit of a scare then, especially through turn 16. It's cost him actually nearly a second. He was running over 2 seconds ahead, and now that's been cut down. But I think he was able to just about avoid damage hit down there. And Scott Bumpton now moves past Mays. He gets himself up in a 9th place, and Mercedes continues to recede in this race down into P10. They're all staying out. Looks like Amazing Hour is still content, but that was a scare. He can't afford many more mistakes like this. Otherwise, he's going to be dropped back not only into the clutches of M-Short, but maybe the real threat, Creaser. You have to say he's driven so well. They're kept it clean, and now he's just a few seconds off the race lead. Creaser has been a real star here tonight.
Yeah, you've got to say, after being nearly 9/10 of a second, you've got to say off of pole position. Maybe even he was expecting to be dropped a little bit by the top 3, but actually it has been, like you say, a real standout performance so far from the Racing Point. He's been in a couple races. He's been in I believe it was here in Bahrain, and he didn't have the best of races then. It wasn't a really strong performance that would suggest that he could potentially be on the podium at the next round, but it has been a very strong race so far from Creaser, who's still holding on to the back of M-Short, who once again has had a strong qualifying, but in the race has faded in comparison to his pace in qualifying. M-Short, though, is nearly within that DRS range, crucially, of Amazing Hour in front. And actually, out of these top 3, Creaser is the one with the most DRS. He has about double the amount of DRS compared to either of our top 2 drivers. So, if these guys do start to close back in on one another, then Creaser has the advantage of the ERS, so he can maybe go for a move down these straights on these drivers in front. Amazing Hour not pulling back away again of M-Short now, so I'm wondering whether Amazing Hour's just hit a time period on those hard compound tyres where it's just not quite got the raw speed anymore, and it's just struggling a little bit though. All crucially, Creaser though might be about to lose DRS here.
It is, but there are 1/10 of a second in it, but he has actually used pretty much all the extra battery that he had, but M Short has also been in a massive effort. He's drained his entire battery, tried to break away, but ultimately it hasn't been enough. And Creaser is still within that range. Now, Amazing Hour has a better ERS situation and he can just control himself at the front. M Short, what an effort to try and pull clear. And ultimately it was invaded, but we've got yellows up ahead on the road there, and that is a yawn that's letting these guys through actually. And the McLaren dropping back and settling back in behind the net race leaders at the moment. So Amazing Hour can pull clear at the front then. M Short gave it everything, and Coutinho is setting fast lap of the race, but so far it's not that much quicker than the race leaders. He's got a lot of pace, Coutinho, and he's making good time out there on the track then, but it's not going to be enough. He may be able to get in front of M Short, give him a good run there. M Short, if he wants to pit, he's probably going to pit very soon, so we'll see. He's going to commit to that strategy very, very soon. He holds that B2, but he's slowly slipping back from Amazing Hour yet again then, after using that battery. So Creaser is still with him, and Coutinho looking to try and move up, but M Short's not going to be far behind. He gets some soft tires on and try and challenge. M Short's still got a good run through the podium. Coutinho, though, is going to give him a hold the fight for. I think it's going to come down to those two, and Amazing Hour and Creaser. Assuming M Short is going to come in, will be isolated at the front and then having a straight fight to the checkered flag for that race victory.
Yeah, you got to say it's going to have to be about this lap for M Short to come in. If he's going to go for the soft compound tyres, which you would imagine he would go for at this point in the race, he's got to come in now if he wants to use the best of them. And M Short a little bit deep there actually into turn 15. I don't know if he clipped the wall just a little bit. He's lost a bit of time again to Amazing Hour coming through turn 15. That seems to be where M Short's losing a lot of his time compared to our race leader. He's 2 laps in a row now that M Short has locked up going into that corner and not made the apex, and that's just allowing Creaser to stick with the Williams man at the moment. And the gap between Amazing Hour and M Short is back up to what it was before Amazing Hour made his little error, so it's now 2.2 seconds. Creaser sitting comfortably in third. Coutinho was about half a second a lap faster than these guys in front, but this lap at the moment, Coutinho is absolutely flying on this lap of 15. He's only 15.6 seconds back now, so he's gained nearly a second and a half on this lap alone on the 2 drivers in front. Even that, though, I don't think is going to be enough, as we've got a yellow flag in Sector 1. I think that is for Mays just moving out the way of some of the drivers as he comes out of the pit lane on a set of soft compound tyres. But yeah, Coutinho, I think even with nearly being a second and a half a lap faster than the drivers in front, I think this just proves that the 2-stop strategy for Coutinho, I don't think would have quite worked.
Yeah, it looks like even without the damage, he might still have been able to eke out a podium. M Short did stay out that last lap, and so we'll see what he can do. But certainly the rate of increase of that gap to Amazing Hour has gone up exponentially in the last few laps. Behind Barelic has gone into the pit lane. He'll probably only lose out to Zauderer. He may be able to get out in front of his teammate. So now the Red Bulls are on 5-6, the Renaults are on 7-8 as it stands out there on the road at the moment. Looks like Neo is still somewhat within range of Coutinho if he makes an error. Still headed for a solid top 5 finish, and Zauderer behind then, making those tires last, is still keeping them out there after that early race incident. But you see again, that gap is still increasing from the front. This time M Short does get around turn 15 just fine, but the gap's now 2.5 seconds. Coutinho is still gaining, not quite, but by quite as much on this lap, but still beginning to reel them in. M Short, you said now he's going to be starting to struggle on those tires then, but if he stays out this lap, then he maybe you get the indication that he's thinking about going to the end. So the Williams driver now heading around with Creaser still chasing him down as rear wagons. He has been throughout the entire second stint. Then M Short stays out again. 7 laps to go in this race, getting into that window. Do you think there's a possibility M Short may still fancy his chances of getting those medium tires, carrying them all the way to the checkered flag?
I think at this point in the race, it's probably his only option. I think he's waited too long if he was going to pit for a set of softs. And again, M Short deep on the brakes, this time into turn 2. Gets away with not hitting the wall, but Creaser touched right underneath him. This is probably the closest Creaser's been so far in this stint to the back of the Williams man. And you've got to say that with 7 laps to go, M Short's pace is only going to drop off more than it is currently. It's only going to get worse. And you can see M Short in front locking up into almost every single corner. So definitely struggling on tyres, but like I said, I think at this point, if he was going to come in for the softs, he would have done it a couple of laps ago. I think it's past the best point in this race now to put those soft compound tyres on. I think if he pitted now, he'd be pretty close to Neo, which is nearly 7 seconds behind Coutinho, which I don't think is enough time left in the race for M Short to get up to Coutinho and make the move stick. So he's got to just try and nurse his tyres to the end, but you can see already he's just not got any raw speed anymore. The gap between him and Amazing Hour is nearly, well, it is now 3 seconds, and Creaser is finding it increasingly easy to stick to the back of the Williams driver.
And that trend is only going to continue into the last few laps, and so M Short's going to have to try and nurse those tires through. He's going to come over the line now with 6 to go. Surely it's not worth pitting unless he's getting into puncture territory on those tires. But as he lost too much time, Coutinho as well within that window there, jumping him. So M Short coming around now. Creasor's within them, and M Short has actually managed to save a good amount of battery over the last few laps. So he can maybe use that to his advantage in his defence. He still doesn't pit. He is definitely going to the end now. There's no doubt about it. And so it's up to Creaser to try and bend the way through then. He gets a lot of oversteer on the brakes in turn 1, holds it together. But Amazing Air now 3 seconds clear. And for the second race running, he just looks utterly dominant. Under such control of the race. No threat from behind. And Creaser though is closer to M Short this time around with DRS over, but I think he's going to be too far away. I think he's looking to remain patient and sit behind. M Short holds on for now, but he's looking increasingly under pressure. Ooh. And the pressure mounting for Maze. And Coutinho off in a turn 2 and now. I think that's going to be Neo going through. Coutinho off again. Then he's made another huge error in this race. How's he gone off with Maze? And Maze is backing off then.
Safety car.
Full safety car deployed now here on lap 21.
Wow, that's completely thrown everything out of the window then. Coutinho going deep into turn 2. We've seen it so many times in this race where Coutinho has just struggled on the brakes. He's just not been able to stop that car. And again into turn 2, runs deep. This time didn't get away with it. He's missing his entire front wing. Now what do these drivers do? You've got to say that all of the top 3 are going to be coming in, because if Amazing Hour stays out, he will be easy meat to both the drivers behind on a set of soft compound tyres. And likewise with any of these top 3, if they stayed out and the other 2 came in, the soft tyres would have such a pace advantage that it'd just be like passing traffic really on the motorway for these drivers. It'd be so easy for them to get past. So I imagine we're going to see all of our top 3 into the pits for a set of soft compound tyres. And I tell you what, this somewhat now saves M Short's race, who looked like he might be conceded to a 3rd place finish with Creaser tucked right up behind him for so long. Now M Short has a real possibility of trying to steal this win back.
Yeah, of course, that safety car restart can change it all. I imagine about Amazing Hour. When we get to that safety car restart, it's going to try and run it up to the line. Predictably, so it's going to be a pit stop for all 3 of our leaders. Our Creaser, oh, he was still out there, I was wondering, but he got started in the last minute. And so we're going to imagine an entire field on fresh, soft tyres. That is going to be the story in front of us. And Coutinho's out there then, and you can see he has lost pretty much his entire front wing. He's got no turn in. He somehow managed to make it round. And he'll get fresh tyres on, get a fresh front wing, but I think Neo's got a good chance of jumping him through that pit lane, and the Red Bull driver is going to follow in as well. And so I'm not actually sure how many drivers we're going to be able to have there. I'm just actually checking the gaps. Maze and Jon are not on the lead lap, so they're not going to be able to get within, and they're going to have a real fighting chance. The other 9 drivers will still have a shot at this. Everyone's out then. Amazing Hour, M Short, Creaser, so that order's retained, and Neo jumping in front of Coutinho. Another mistake made for Coutinho, but he's still in this one, and circumstances fall his way. The AlphaTauri driver may not be out of a podium fight just yet.
Yeah, you've got to say anyone really of these top 5 is still within a shot of this podium, especially depending on when the safety car gets going. All of these drivers have an opportunity of being on that podium, especially if we get into a pretty heated battle towards the end of this race. Someone could easily pick up damage, or people could be going for audacious double overtakes, which is very easy to do around this circuit. So don't count any of these top 5 drivers out of this one just yet. Crucially as well for these drivers at the moment, I believe they've got Maze. I think Maze is right in the thick though of that lead group, and obviously Maze is a lap down, so that is going to be one disadvantage for Neo and Coutinho. So they're going to have to run behind Maze's lapped car behind this safety car, which is going to cost them maybe about a second or so. So they've really got to get up to speed quickly when this full safety car ends. Behind the top 5, by the way, Bruich is still running in 6th place in the Renault. He's on an older set of soft compound tyres, having pitted a couple laps earlier. Zaldiman now on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. Same with Charlie Harris and Scott Bugner as well. They're all still on the lead lap. Zaldiman here as well has got to be another one maybe to look out for. He's got a real opportunity of trying to work his way back through after what was a disastrous start to this race.
Yeah, renewed opportunities, and right with the fact that Bray White's still in front of him, no, will look to try and hold him back, even with some slightly older tyres on the Renault. We're coming up now. We still may be waiting for another lap longer because the field is so spread out round here. We are still waiting. I think Scott Bugner will be the last driver to get onto the rear wing of the safety car trim, which is coming up to the line, and now Scott is heading through that castle section now. So we may be waiting for a little while longer. We'll see how we go on to, maybe it'll be end of lap 23. Obviously, if it's not that way, we'll have a 3 or 4 lap sprint to the checkered flag. That is how this race will be defined, with Amazing Hour's lead wiped out. M Short with him. DRS isn't going to play a massive role, but maybe on the last lap if it's activated, could come into play, and we may see a battle, a duel. M Short's got renewed winning chances. Can Amazing Hour hold him off? He looks so in control of this race, but now the Mercedes is going to have to fight for it. With the entire field on his train, on equal tires, they're going to have a great chance. And actually, I just want to point out, I think Mays is being very sportsmanlike here, and has actually kind of removed himself from that lead battle by going into the pit lane, allowing some drivers to go through, because this doesn't have any bearing on his position then. So I think he's willing to just let the race take its natural course, sit further back then, which will free up the likes of Neo and Kikino to have a bit of a better run. But now Amazing Hour through at the front end, but can he hold off then? M Short's going to be looking, he's going to be desperate to try and take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, best opportunity this guy has now of trying to win this race. He's got to do something now. Amazing Hour looking for a second win of the season. M Short, our current championship leader, hasn't won so far. He needs something to try and build a gap a little bit to Amazing Hour, who could start to close in on him after this race. Crease as well, currently third place, now has a real fight on his hands to hold on to that podium. He's looking for his first podium of the season so far. At the moment, if the race were to end like this, Crease would be our 7th different podium sitter out of 3 races so far. Amazing Hour and M Short would be the first 2 drivers this season to pick up their second podium so far. So it just goes to show how competitive this championship has been up until this point. We've had so many different podium sitters already. Neo still yet to finish on the podium as well. Kikino also still yet to finish on the podium. In fact, everyone from Neo down to the back of the field in 11th place is yet to finish on the podium. So if Cruiser loses this position to anyone driver behind, we're still going to get our 7th podium sitter of the season. Wait and see though, coming towards the end of the second sector, I think we are going to get going on this lap, and we are. So we're going to have 3 laps of racing. That means we'll get DRS on the final lap of this race. So it's all about who can keep close enough up towards that final lap. Now it's all about when Amazing Hour decides to go for the safety car restart. We've seen a lot in the past. People wait really late here at the safety car restart to go, just so that people can't get a slipstream down this pit straight. You would imagine that Amazing Hour, knowing his experience and knowledge of esports racing, that he's probably going to try and do the same. Wait as long as he can so that he doesn't give M Short any opportunity of trying to slipstream him in towards turn 1. Holding a pretty high speed so far. The field is a little bit more spread out than we usually see at a safety car restart. No one really bumping into the back of anyone or getting too close at the moment. Amazing Hour still holding back, and now he's decided to go just before the DRS line. So Amazing Hour's gone a little bit earlier than I expected. Creaser, though, had a good safety car restart, but he's still weaving his tyres, trying to get some temperature in. Look at Coutinho, though, already side by side with a Neo, and round the outside of turn 1, late on the brakes. Coutinho breezes past Neo, who couldn't put up a fight in the end. Brilliant stuff from Coutinho, already up into 4th place, and that is a great opportunity now for Coutinho to get back on the podium with a great intention. A safety car restart, read that perfectly, already up into 4th place.
And it's the same top 4 we've seen all the way throughout the day then. Brilliant from Coutinho. That's the 2nd time we've seen him running outside of turn 1 this evening. Now looking at chase in the top 3 then. Creaser was looking at M Short. M Short wasn't quite able to stay with Amazing Hour off the restart. Amazing Hour controlling from the front then. Can he hold on to it? Just 3 laps to go, 2.5 laps to go to be more accurate, and Amazing Hour has the front of the race. Now M Short 17th round, chasing down Creaser, occupied that 3rd position. And running up behind that Williams just looks so impressive. Can he maybe try and fight through it? But Coutinho is within this one now. Maybe just slipping back off the rear wing of the Racing Point early on then. And Amazing Hour is moving clear. He's inspired on this restart. Refreshed off tires going flat out. And looking to break that 1 second margin. He's clear at the moment. Coming up now with 2 laps to go. Amazing Hour looking to put this in the bag. Wrap it up before we get to the line. Then 1 second's good. That could be decisive at such a late point in the race.
It really could, especially on that final lap at the moment. Creaser and Coutinho sticking to the back of M Short quite nicely, who just again doesn't quite have the pace of Amazing Hour. Amazing Hour using a bit more of his ERS to try and break that gap as further down. Charlie Harris has actually got a move done on Zanima. So Charlie Harris up a place, and all they're side by side there. Coming through is all behind. Scott Bugner loses the rear of the car going through turn 18. Hits the wall and has damaged his front wing. Unfortunately, Zanima trying to come back at the Renault driver of Charlie Harris. Up towards turn 1. Is he going to be close enough to make a move stick? Around the outside goes Zanima. Can he get that move done on the Renault driver in towards turn 1? Is going to break late, but look how late Charlie Harris is. Too late though, and Charlie Harris has hit himself and his teammate. And Brewich, from a possible P6 place, has been spun out by his teammate at turn 1. How many times in this race have we seen drivers outbrake themselves into turn 1? And once again, another driver outbreaks themselves. This time it's Charlie Harris, and crucially there was another driver in the way, wrong place at the wrong time in Brewich. So unlucky to be taken out by his teammate.
dropping him from 6th to 9th then, absolutely gutting his Coutinho. Gets a time penalty, and that may be ruling him out of a podium, but he's still going to try and push. Maybe try to get it from Neo. Neo trying to stay within that range gap, 1.5 for the moment, but yeah, gutting. Bob Rewich said he held the front of that train so well, but ultimately that lunge from his teammate wiped him out, but it's Zoneman that benefited. He now runs in a comfortable P6 and looks set to the checkered flag to hold on to that position. Coutinho's now dropping back, so it's now a three-way fight, and M Short is with Amazing Hour. He's putting in a stunning penultimate lap, and Amazing Hour running wide, going through a turn 15, and now the race is on. It's three-way battle now for the race win, and they're going to go out into the final lap. Then it looks like Amazing Hour may have a decisive break. Now it's Ward back against him. It's been a stunning lap 25 from M Short 17. Can he see it through one more lap? An Amazing Hour using his battery. M Short's got not quite as much as M Creaser. May fancy his chances and trying to snatch that place from the Williams. 1 lap left to go. Ed Baku over the lane. There is a side. DRS is enabled. 2 more DRS zones, and the lead could yet change hands. But a mistake from Ed Short's going to send it back, and now Creaser looking to the inside line. Is that going to get Amazing Hour the advantage? And he needs to see this one through. Creaser on the DRS, but M Short using the last of his battery to stay in front, but as that mistake costs him a chance at fighting for the race win. Going into turn 3, Amazing Hour holding the race lead. That 8-10's clear. That might be enough. M Short needs a stunning middle sector to pull it back into it then. 2/3 of the lap left to go, and Amazing Hour still occupying that race lead. He knows that he's got more battery, he's got the gap, he can just try and run clear, run right from the front then. Still over 3/4 of a second in it. Now heading towards the castle section, in a good run from behind the driver, can really swing the pendulum here. Amazing Hour is clean going up there. M Short more committed, pulls some time back, but the gap is still 7/10 of a second, and that may just be 7/10 of a second too much then. And now our Amazing Hour now coming through with just 2 more significant corners left to go. He gets a good run through turn 15 as well. 9 gets out of the gap. Now to the final corner. Surely he has done enough on this final lap then. M Short threw everything at him. He gave it all in these last few laps, and he definitely gave it a good run, but ultimately it's not enough. Scott Bowden is going out in the last lap. Heading through turn 14. He's found out all this race. Creaser with a good run then. Looking for P2 to the line. Can he snatch from M Short then? Amazing Hour across first. He's got the race win, but then Creaser down the outside snatches P2 on the line. Unbelievable. Creaser, who trailed, who tracked M Short the entire race, gets second on the line. M Short gutted. He misses out a lack of DRS from Amazing Hour. Thousandths of a second. That was the margin. And through goes Creaser. P2, what a drive. Neo comes through 4th at the end. He snatches 4th from Coutinho's penalty. Zenema, a quiet P6. Brewich does recover to 7th in the end after being wiped out. Charlie, his teammate, in behind him. That wraps up the race. Bit of a slow burner. What an ending though. Amazing Hour. A huge race victory. But what an effort from Priester to snatch that second place. M Short gave it all, but ultimately no DRS in the main straight. That's a death sentence, and through the Racing Point win and snatching that second place right at the death.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff from Creaser as well. Really read that situation beautifully. I think he was probably planning that the entire race. I think he was waiting until that final lap to get that move done. He didn't want to get ahead of M Short and give him the opportunity of getting that move done. And crucially, M Short wasted pretty much all of his ERS on lap 25, trying to close back in on Amazing Hour, and in the end it played against the Williams man. It cost him a second place in this race. Creaser really, really smart driving, and by far his best performance of the season. He's our 7th different podium sitter so far. Amazing Hour then picks up his second race victory of the season, gets the fastest lap to boot with that as well on the final lap of the race as well. Brilliant stuff from Amazing Hour, who I believe will now take over the championship lead from M Short after that race. Creaser with his first podium of the season and his best result so far. M Short in 3rd place, another podium for him, but again M Short short of that race victory. Just doesn't seem to have the raw speed and race pace at the moment to try and go for those race victories. We'll see if he can maybe try and better that next time out. Neo in 4th place, his best result of the season so far, but again quite distant from the top 4 fastest drivers in this race. Coutinho should have been right up there, but a number of mistakes in that race cost him. Zauner in 6th ahead of Brewich. Charlie Harris, Scott Bugner retired on the final lap. Mays and John were a lap down in the end. Nightshades and Vax Viking retired fairly early on in that race. A chaotic race of attrition really in the end. The top 4 really looked solid at the front of the field. Coutinho though making too many mistakes. M-Short not quite fast enough to challenge. Creaser sitting in third place the majority of that race, makes the move on the final lap, and you've got to say, from the pit stops onwards, Amazing Hour, it never really looked in doubt.
Certainly, and for the second week running as well, he's beginning to establish himself as a big level championship favourite. After the first round of the season didn't go his way, he is right back in it and looking to try and fire on all cylinders throughout the remainder of the season. It's still early days and a lot can happen, but certainly the Mercedes man has really come to form as of late. But we'll see what happens, because the next race is going to come to you from Canada. Again, a street circuit, again a low grip circuit, so we'll see how that goes. But Canada, very different track actually to Baku in many ways. A bit more high speed corners, a lot of chicanes in there. So we'll see what happens then. But Canada coming up next week, and I think we could see more twists and turns of the championship fight. Who knows how it's going to all end up that time around.
Yeah, and strategy plays a really, really strong part in Canada as well. Obviously, two stops seems to be the fastest way around that circuit. Rain is quite common at Canada. Anything can really happen at that circuit. Penalties, damage, the lot. It could be a very, very interesting race this time next week. We'll have to wait and see how that one is going to pan out. Before we finish off, though, tonight, Dan, I'm going to ask you the question that everybody seems to hate. Who was your driver of the day today?
I'm actually torn between our top two. I think that obviously M Short pole position was brilliant, but ultimately he just didn't quite. I mean, I think he got relatively fortunate, and I think P3 was a deserved result in the end for the Williams driver. Still drove brilliantly, so I think it comes down to Amazing Hour and also Creaser, our top two finishers here today. And just because I feel like I'm going to give Amazing Hour probably a few more Driver of the Day awards throughout this season based on current form, I'm going to say Creaser just because maybe based on the form going in, maybe we weren't expecting quite as much, but he drove fantastic tonight. Solid qualifying, took advantage of his opportunities, and snatched P2 on the line. He drove a great race today.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. The fact that he... Well, I mean, we didn't quite have much of an expectation of Creaser coming in. Was about a second off pole position and then in fourth place. Maybe was expecting even himself a bit of a quiet race, but in the end, really, really strong performance from Creaser. Gets his first podium of the season. Second place, well, ahead of someone like M-Short, who is really established not only in EML, but in many other championships as well. That is a really, really strong performance from the Racing Point man. So maybe he could be a possible threat going on to the next race in Canada, or maybe for the rest of the season. That is one driver we've got to keep an eye out for the rest of this championship. But that is where we're going to round off the stream today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in as well to League Racing TV for the rest of the week. Divisions 2 and 3 are back tomorrow evening at 8 PM, and Divisions 4 and 5 of the TTML Championship are back on Friday as well at 8 PM. So tune in to those rounds. They're sure to be great rounds once again. We are back this time next Wednesday for round 4 of the championship. But for myself and Dan, it has been thank you very much, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.